Hey, it's Dave Brown here, host of Now with Dave Brown on AMI. Check out this latest highlight from the show. Did you know that over 80% of people with disabilities use at least one assistive device? That definitely includes me. But what we all know is that assistive devices are not one size fits all. They can serve unique needs. Well, an initiative from the Squire Society called Makers Making Change is helping people with disabilities develop innovative devices to help them manage day-to-day routines. To learn more about Makers Making Change, let's welcome into the show Suzanne Winterflood. Suzanne is a regional coordinator for Makers Making Change and joins us from Winnipeg. Hey, Suzanne, thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Oh, good morning, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we've spoken about this program a couple of times on the show, but never directly to folks like you who are involved with Makers Making Change. So, Suzanne, give us a bit of a reminder about the purpose and the goals of Makers Making Change.
So the purpose of Makers Making Change is to provide people with affordable assistive technologies. We all know that being a person with disabilities, needing assistive devices to be able to improve the daily quality of life, access to work. The devices can be exponentially expensive in the open retail market. So at Makers Making Change, we provide via our online website and device library, over 160 affordable assistive devices using 3D printing and sort of materials that make it easier to make these things by makers, hobbyists, and other volunteers, and then that cost is obviously saved up to about 94%. For the end user, the people that really need them.
How many clients have been served by Makers Making Change over the years?
Oh my goodness! Now you put me on the spot. That's not a number that comes to mind completely. But I would anticipate over about the last 2 to 3 years that I've certainly been involved, probably 3,000 to 4,000.
Wow.
And the number is probably larger because it's online.
Yeah.
People download things that we don't even know that have been downloaded, right?
Right. So along those lines, walk me through that a little bit, because some of this stuff is certainly involving 3D printers where people can really sort of open source this a little bit. So walk me through that process for someone with a disability, what they might experience as they want to engage with and utilize Makers Making Change.
Okay, so we have an online website which you can access via www.makersmakingchange.com. We are part of the Squire Society, so you can also access us via that website as well. And you can just Google that. Our website is accessible. We do our best to make it accessible for everybody. So you can sign up as onto the website. You can log in. You can sign up as a person with disabilities, as a maker, maybe a person with disabilities who is a maker, as a professional or a carer or a person, a relative, friend. So you can be the person that signs up, or someone can sign up on your behalf, or it could even be a triangle of your care worker, as I say, you put your OT and yourself, etc. So then you'll go in and you'll see the library, and you'll be able to look at the devices. As I say, there's over 160. We have about 19 specifically for the visually impaired, but we have many others, assistive switches and gaming devices, etc. So then you can go in as a user, and you can log in and you can request an item. You can, if you don't see something on there that that fits your need, you can put a request in. So you can put a request in for a design challenge and hope that a maker will come up for that and receive that. Or you can ask for something, but it might need to be customized for your purpose. As you said at the beginning, Dave, one size does not fit all. So the beauty of doing this through our open source library is everything in there is attributed to the original designer, but it's not owned per se. It's open for everybody. So it's open to be modified, customized, color changes, etc. And then you're matched with a maker in your community, or unless you know somebody, of course. And then you can download all of the materials, the steps and instructions that you require to make that device. If you have access to a 3D printer, you'll be able to download the STL files. Sometimes there's videos or things to support the making of the device. So it's very, there's many touch points as well. You can join the forum, you can speak to people. If you are involved with a community group or a hospital, perhaps, we can work with them as well. We have a hospital in Toronto, in fact, that is going to have a lending library for their client base.
Oh, wow.
So we're working with them at the moment. So that's one avenue. So there's many touch points. There's many ways in which you can be involved as a maker or as a requester. So the first step is really to reach out.
Yeah, one of our contributors, Marco Pasqua, who's a regular fixture on the show for a lot of the work he does in design and inclusion, actually did a segment last year about how the Neil Squire Society and Makers Making Change helped him develop an accessible crib, an accessible changing table after the birth of a child. So we've talked a little bit about some of the incredible customizations that can be done, and Marco had so many glowing things to say about the program. But you mentioned the way in which knowledge is leveraged here with a lot of makers. Suzanne, we know how important volunteers are for programs like this. So give a little bit of love to the volunteers who are involved in this program.
Oh, yes. I mean, we couldn't do what we do without that. We have a team across Canada in various sizes. We have 2 in Winnipeg, for argument's sake, that covers the Manitoba and Ontario region. So we rely heavily on our makers and our volunteers. And we have a chat. People can sign up to just be a maker. Or if there's a need in your area, we might be able to help you. You can set up a chapter so that you could become sort of a satellite in your local community, and you can help provide devices in that location. As I say, we have a maker in Toronto, for example, that is very, very active, and he's amazing. And he's a very keen young man, and he's doing so much work. And he has even sort of supported us at events and conferences that we've done. So he sort of is one of our big super makers, really, in the location. And we have that all across. So if you have access to a 3D printer, perhaps you're attached to a library, we could work with libraries to get them into the maker spaces. We've been speaking with Brampton Library, for argument's sake. We were involved in the Maker Fair out of Mississauga in May. So there's many ways in which volunteers can access us and be involved. And the first step, really, if that is something you want to do, is to reach out to me. And my contact details are on the website. So as the central region, if you're in Ontario, I'm not sure how far you broadcast, Dave, but if it's within Ontario, and anybody in Ontario can initially just reach out to me via the contact details on the website, and I'll be happy to respond to that.
Excellent. Yeah, we're actually national. We're a national on
you are
TV.
National.
Yeah, on TV, and then also we're international with our web broadcasts and podcasts.
Wonderful.
So I think a lot of the work that you guys are doing is something that can actually be a best practice or a template that I think folks all around the world should be looking at. Because Suzanne, ultimately what I hear here is the opportunity for a lot of collaboration and a lot of looking to find unique solutions. And it's also putting power back in the hands of people, which I think is so important. It's giving and a bit of empowerment to people with disabilities to try and find ways to look at their daily routine on how they can change their lives with an assistive device. So you mentioned people finding you on the website or finding contact info on the website. Give us that website so folks can track it down, and we'll also make sure that it goes up on the blog after the show as well.
Absolutely. It's www.makersmakingchange.com. If you can't remember that, if you just put Makers Making Change. And it's fantastic to hear that you're national and international, because we have offices and people across Canada. We also have an international interest. We just had a school in Spain, in fact, yesterday, who reached out, and they have been printing devices for their communities. So although as a Canadian organisation, much of our funding is focused within Canada, we have groups across the globe and all over North America. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Suzanne, it was so lovely catching up with you today. And again, we really appreciate and we're grateful for the work that you and your colleagues are doing across the country. Let's keep in touch and keep us posted on when there's big developments. And we're always happy to give a little bit of love and shout out to the organization.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dave. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I look forward to hearing from people who listen in on this and read the blog. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Makersmakingchange.com is where you go to learn more about that one. And then if you didn't write that down fast enough or you don't want to hit rewind a bunch of times on the podcast, I've told you a million times before, you should have our blog as your landing page, ami.ca/nowblog, ami.ca/nowblog. Do you want to dive into more conversations like this? Watch Now with Dave Brown weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on AMI TV or download the podcasts wherever you listen. Do you want to dive into more conversations like this? Watch Now with Dave Brown weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on AMI TV or download the podcasts wherever you listen.